Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Did You Know? This time, I have an incredible woman, a good friend of mine, Miss Shirin, and Miss Shirin Selph. And I want you to pay attention to what kind of a woman she is, what kind of a life she's had. She's a true woman of the world. Hello, Shirin. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Would you be so kind to get us started with a little bit of your life as you tell us about your country,
Yes.
Iran,
Yes.
and how was your family life there, and how was your neighborhood there? Just tell us.
Sure. I was born in Tehran, Iran, capital city of Iran. And Iran is a very wonderful country because it's, first of all, is multi-ethnic. Many ethnic groups live there, and they have their own culture, their own language, their own food, their own costumes. And it's beautiful. It's just like a garden of flowers of different colors. And also has different climates. It has, it has deserts, it has beaches, it has mountains that year-round have snow. That's where I grew up with the snow all the time on the mountains. And 4 seasons, some places, some people are jungles. So it's a fascinating country.
How about your family?
I was born in a family, in a Baha'i family. And my grandparents from both sides were Jewish. But my grandfather became a Baha'i, my mother's father. And he had a dream and saw somebody and then realized, and studied the Baha'i and became Baha'i. My family, we were 9 kids.
Wow.
8 sisters, 1 brother.
Wow.
And then we grew up. My mother has 2 sisters. There were 3 sisters. One got married with a Baha'i, one got married with a Jewish, and one got married with a Muslim. I grew up with my cousins of different religions, and we were like sisters and brothers, sleeping in each other's houses and celebrating our holy days together for each one. It was fantastic. And I think it was because I was raised with a set of values, Baha'i values, and all my life was kind of formed and guided by that.
How about your neighborhood?
I lived in a Zoroastrian neighborhood, so I really grew up with 4 religions, It was fantastic. And so when we grew up like that in Iran, and when I was in Iran at that time, it was a wonderful country, and they were, we used to wear mini skirts and go to the movies and dancing, discotheques and things. But of course there was some discriminations, but it's not comparable with what's going on now. One example of discrimination, would you like to know one example?
Yes.
So the government had a job description to bring new computers to the country for the first time. Huge IBM machines. So I applied, and you had to pass through so many tests to get accepted. So I was accepted. I passed all the tests, and I was accepted, and I was employed. But after a month, to make us permanent, they sent us a questionnaire, and they said, one of them was, what is your religion? And I said, Baha'i. I wrote Baha'i. And I was fired because I was a Baha'i. So there was this kind of, discrimination, but there was a lot of freedom for you to do, for young people, for everybody. It's not comparable to what's going on now, the fanaticism and discrimination and killing the Baha'is. And they are not allowed to go to universities. the young people. They are not allowed to have their own businesses. So discrimination right now is much, much harsher, and they demolish people's home, Baha'is' home. So the minorities, especially the Baha'is, have really hard time in Iran right now.
And you left the country when you were only 22, right?
Yes.
And why? What did you do? Where did you go?
Okay, so I left Iran because I'm a Baha'i, and the Baha'i faith is a global world religion, and we always communicate with each other. And there's a Baha'i World Center, and through that, we all know what's going on. And they ask some youth people go for a year of service. All youth, Baha'i still now, they go different parts for a year of service to meet other Baha'is, other countries, other cultures, and learn about life, and then come to their own country, and then start going to college.
So where did you go?
So I went to Panama, because they said 2 Persians for this plan go to Panama, and I was the first Persian ever going to Panama. There was nobody to talk my language, nobody. And so I went there. On the way, of course, I lived 1 year in England, and I lived in Jamaica because my sisters were there, and then I went to Panama. For 1 year, I stayed 10 years. And I came back after I got married with my kids and my husband. I loved Panama. It was fantastic.
And by the way, your Spanish is perfect.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So later we went to Bolivia, and so altogether I lived in Latin American countries 16 years.
Uh-huh.
And I really, most of the time, consider myself Latina. So we lived I lived in Panama, and my parents came also and lived in Panama. My sister came. And then I got married, and then with an American. So we came to U.S. so he can finish his studies. The kids were born, and then we went back. So altogether, I have been to 44 countries.
Wow! Tell me about where your siblings are.
Okay, so right now I have a sister who is in Madagascar. She lived in India 30 years, and her son was born there. He met in Cornell University his wife from Madagascar. So they got married, went to Madagascar. So obviously my sister went to be with her son and her grandchildren. One sister lives in Panama. One sister lives in Canada. One sister lives in England. One sister lives in Wales. My brother lives in New Zealand. One sister also lives here in Little Rock, Arkansas. These are the only 2 that live in the same country. So it's fascinating life.
And when you count your siblings and you count their children and grandchildren, how many countries are represented then?
Really, about 50 or more. They got married to Africa from Benin and Ivory Coast. They got married with Jamaica, and they got married with people from Norway. They got married from Brazil. They got married with Colombian, Panamanian. It's amazing when we have family reunions. It's just amazing,
When you went to your sister's family wedding in Canada, how many of you were there?
So my sister's granddaughters, 2 of them were getting married together. They were probably at least 100. 100 came from all over the world. They came from all over the world. So we were going to have a huge family reunion that was going to be 300 people. And it was going to be in Turkey because it was in the middle of places. But then the Corona came, COVID. And we stopped it. That was going to be a fantastic thing. 300 of us, cousins and uncles and sisters and brothers all together.
It's amazing. Please share with our viewers a little bit about the time you went to teach in China at the University of Jinan.
Jinan University. I went to China for 6 years. After my kids were graduated, and they were their own. Then I received an invitation to go as a visiting scholar. to China, southeast near Hong Kong and Macau, and I accepted. And I went there, and my daughter came also. She went to Beijing, I went there, and I lived there 6 years. And I worked in 2 universities, Jinan University and Zhongshan University. And it was fascinating. I was living on the campus with 20,000 students who wanted to learn English. Nobody would talk to me in Chinese, and I wanted to learn Chinese. So I would sneak out, shopping and things, and then I learned, enough to defend myself,
So you speak Farsi, you speak English, you speak Spanish, and you speak some Chinese too?
Some Chinese.
That's
yes.
amazing.
Yes. I surprise Chinese people. Sometimes they're talking and I go and say, "Are you Chinese? Oh, nice to meet you," and things, and they're shocked that I'm talking.
Well, you shocked me when you asked me,
Yes.
I want to speak Spanish with you. And it is, okay, so let's move on. Tell us not only how many countries outside, but you've also lived in many different states of the United States.
Yes.
And in each one of them, you bring yourself, your career, your knowledge in your cultural diversity teachings and
Yes.
studies. Tell us about that.
So I have a master's degree in education, which is about multicultural conflict resolution and about diversity and equity and excellence. So I taught also at the universities here in the United States, but also I traveled, so we lived in Michigan. I worked with the University of Wisconsin, and I was there for a trainer for 3 years. I lived in Ohio because my cousins and my aunts were there. When I came first, we went there. And I lived in, okay, so Florida. My kids were born in Florida. And Massachusetts most of all, because that's home for us. My kids grew up in Massachusetts, and we have our home, a house there.
And that's where you taught most of the time?
Yeah, I taught 8 years. I was a multicultural specialist for Springfield Public Schools.
Oh.
So for 8 years, I trained teachers, administrators, students, and I went to the classrooms and worked with the students. I got an award there from then First Lady Hillary Clinton for my program that I was doing in different schools. She came and we had meeting, and then she gave me a prize, a certificate for that.
That's wonderful. And I see that in all of your life journey, you are weaving equality and all the knowledge that you brought from your studies, but you mix it with your beliefs and your values in the Baha'i faith.
Yes.
I don't know how many of us here in Laguna Woods know exactly what are the tenets of the Baha'i faith, and you're so passionate about it. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Baha'i faith is a world religion, is the newest. 2 days ago, we celebrated 180 anniversary of the Baha'i faith, so it's 180 years only. But it is after Christianity, is the most widespread religion in the world. More than 200 countries and territories, there are Baha'is. And it talks about that there is only one God. This God sends messengers from time to time to renew the religion, not to change it, not to abolish it, but to renew and bring new teaching that is for the needs of the people of the time after 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 years. We have changed, so spiritually we need new guidance. So the Baha'is believe in all the religions. And also, so there's one God, one religion, really progressive, and also we believe that all people of the world, scientifically it's proven also, are members of the same human family. 99.9% of all our genes are the same. It's just, just outside because of the climate and where we have adapted is different. Otherwise, everything is the same. So some of us more, good in mathematics, some of us, language, different, but still we are. It's just like, as I mentioned, we consider its diversity as a fantastic thing, and it is like flowers of one garden. Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith, who suffered prisons, and 20,000 of his followers were killed 170 years ago. And he was kind of banished, exiled from one country to another until they sent him to Israel, but at that time was Palestine. And it was a place that sent the most worst criminals there. So they sent him there. But now is Israel, and it's the most beautiful, fantastic, beautiful place. So the Baha'i faith believes that women should have the same opportunities and equal rights as men. Without that, we're not going to have peace. Because Baha'u'llah says that humanity is like a bird. One wing is women, one wing are men. Imagine, okay, men are very strong, very educated, but women down here, how can the bird fly with one wing strong? And so we have to have equality of opportunities. And also, Baha'u'llah mentions that every single person in the world should be educated. If the father, the mother cannot afford, the government should. So so universal education is one of the teachings of Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah says that justice is the most important thing in the world.
And can you explain, when we were talking before today and you were telling me that there aren't any hierarchies within the religious communities of the Baha'i community, please share that.
Sure. So individually, there are no Baha'is that individually have any right, any rank, nothing. It's Baha'i institutions that are elected by the Baha'is. And it starts from the bottom, really. When there's 9 Baha'is, adults, in one community, they form a spiritual assembly, local spiritual assembly. Then these local spiritual assemblies elect a national spiritual assembly for each country. And there is one universal house of justice in the world that takes care of affairs of all the Baha'is in the world. So really it's a grassroots, but there is no leaders, no individuals in the Baha'i faith that with ranks.
And is there a special way of prayer?
Sure. Baha'u'llah revealed books and books, more than hundreds of books himself while he was alive. And he did revealed a lot of prayers for any occasion, for children, for mothers, for family. Family is the most important part of the society. Starts the building, brick of the society is family, and then goes from there. If the family is strong, if the family is united, then we can go. So right now, I forgot what you asked me.
About the hierarchy, and no, I asked you about the prayers.
Okay, so it's very interesting. Baha'u'llah says service to humanity is like prayers and worship to God. You don't have to go and sit a special place to say prayer, to have said prayers. Serve humanity and you're worshiping God and you're saying prayers. But also, Baha'u'llah has revealed everybody says prayers in the morning and evening, but also their houses of worship around the world is like invitation to everybody. All of them have 9 doors from 9 major religions of the world, so everybody can come in and, and worship God.
So within your own family, that you have people, the nuclear family and the extended family have representatives of probably all the religions or many of the religions.
Yes.
When you get together, is there some leadership, or nobody speaks about religion when you're together?
We discuss things. Since the Baha'i faith doesn't have like leaders of things that talk about religion. All the Baha'is are free, are encouraged to talk about the Baha'i faith to people. It's person to person. It's not, you go to a war and conquer upon country and say, oh, you are going to be Baha'i. So it's a person-to-person situation, and we share, Many people accept to be a Baha'i because the teaching is for today. And
but those in your family that are not within the Baha'i faith are accepted as equals among each other?
Yes, of course, of course. And even my grandfather was alive, We all went to his house, and he was so funny. He said, whoever grandchildren can kiss here, I give them $10, let's say. And as soon as we would do it, then he would kiss us, and we couldn't. So he was the person. My mother and father were the oldest of the siblings. So when we had our things in our house, we talked about religion. It's not really talking about living the life,
right?
Serving, be humiliated, humility. Don't say, "Oh, I'm best because I'm better because I'm a Baha'i." You are not. It's not like that. Live the life and show by action
and service.
Yes.
Going back to Iran, then and now, or mostly now. Just one of your sisters stayed in Iran.
Yes, all my sisters.
How was her life?
Okay, so they suffered a lot. Her youngest daughter she was at that time probably 16 years old, and she was walking in the street near her house with her brother, and the guards came and arrested her. They said, your stockings are not dark enough.
The stockings that she was wearing?
Yeah. They are not dark, they are not thick enough. They took her and they put her in prison, and they tortured her. They burned the back of her legs. They hit her head, 16 years old. And my sister, since then she couldn't really talk anymore. But fortunately, they released her eventually, and she left Iran. And now she lives in the United States and happy, married with children and things. So the situation is very bad for minorities in Iran, especially Baha'is, but a lot of minorities, even the different tribes and different ethnicities. Some of them suffer a lot.
Did you ever go back?
I went back only once. I left Iran at 1970. Now you can see more or less how old I am.
Well, it was 9 years before the revolution you had.
Yes, no. I went to Panama because I was, I went to exchange cultures and things with the young people. But I lived there, and it was fantastic. It wasn't that much. But now, Iran is different. It's too different. It's too. The Islamic Republic is very focused only on that. Anybody that is out of that is not accepted.
It's so sad. So you finally decided to stay in the United States.
Yeah, I got married, and we went back to Panama and Bolivia for years, but came here. I came here also to finish my studies, get my master's degree in education, and I love it here in the United States. Is the diversity. I always, when I teach the classes, and I say, why do you think United States is the most advanced country in the world? Because of the diversity. Each group that came to the United States brought something. African Americans brought agriculture. There's so many inventions in the United States by African Americans. Chinese came, brought railroad and other things. Latinos came, Mexicans came, and brought. So each one has contributed That's why United States is so successful. That's why it's so advanced, because diversity does that, you know.
It does. Is there anything else that you would like for the people to know about you?
About me. Okay, so I tell you something. I have a Zoom meeting with all my sisters and brothers every Thursday this time, so they were not happy that today we didn't.
I wish they were all here.
Yeah. No, you have seen
Oh,
it.
yes.
Yeah, these are some of my sisters and brothers, you know. Maybe you can see more later. And so, yeah, we meet every Thursday at 9 o'clock my time. New Zealand is like, you know, 4 o'clock in the morning, and he gets up, my brother.
I hope they get to see you on television.
Yes.
And I hope they all come and visit us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, my friends, thank you so much for being with us one more time here in Did You Know? I hope you learned a lot, and I hope that we all follow Shirin's teachings about diversity and living in peace together. And please keep on learning and keep on coming back here to Did You Know? I hope you learn, and I love you. Bye-bye.